Welcome back. Let's discuss the topic of diabetes and eye health. With me is Dr. Thomas Burbos. Welcome back, Dr. Burbos.
Thank you.
So let's start out again by talking about diabetes and eye health. And I have read that people with diabetes have a 40% more likely chance to develop glaucoma. Is that true? Can you talk about that?
Sure. The thought originally was that diabetes definitely contributed more to glaucoma. A study that was finished up around 2000 showed that they do have a slightly increased risk of developing glaucoma, but not as high as we had originally thought. But it is definitely something that has to be watched with our diabetic patients as they go along with their years.
Okay, and let's talk about cataracts. So I've also read that folks with diabetes have a 60% more likely chance to develop cataracts. Is that true?
I think that as well is partially true in the sense that the patients that don't take care of themselves correctly with controlling their blood sugars and keeping their diabetes under control tend to develop cataracts sooner than somebody that does. If somebody does do good control on their diabetes, then their likelihood is much less of developing cataract, but it is an increased prevalence amongst diabetics to have cataracts earlier than we would expect.
So is it important for folks who have diabetes to get yearly eye exams, and is that something they need to pay attention to?
I think it's extremely important for a number of reasons, not just eye health, obviously, to follow on changes that can occur from diabetes and keeping the patient informed of where they're at and what may be coming up as far as treatment that might be needed. But I think the other important thing that a lot of people don't realize is the eye is a window, and that window allows us to look at blood vessels that normally would be covered up by skin, and we can look at them and determine what kind of damage has occurred. That damage correlates very well with other damage throughout the body, not only the brain, the heart, the legs as far as neuropathy, kidneys, but as well eyes. So that gives the primary care doctor an idea that, okay, if they're having these changes, then we need to reset our goals and lower our goals or get the diabetes under better control. I think that's helpful for a patient with diabetes because it's one of those diseases that if the blood sugar's up, they don't have much effect that day. They go, well, I guess it's okay, we'll move on to the next day. And over time, that becomes months, which becomes years, and the problem definitely increases for them with trouble.
So if someone with diabetes decides not to get an annual eye exam, are they running the risk of not potentially catching a condition earlier than they could?
They are. There are some problems with diabetic eye disease that may not show up with vision change that we can catch early. Some of that may require some treatment. Some of it may just be encouragement to the patient that, listen, we're starting to see some trouble. Maybe it's time we tighten up our blood sugar control a little better, maybe a little more exercise. Also, keeping their blood pressure under control, et cetera, is important.
So diabetic retinopathy, can you tell us a little bit about that and how it relates to diabetes control and that patient as a whole?
So diabetic retinopathy is a problem that occurs due to having blood sugars that are too high. Those blood sugars that are too high cause damage to blood vessels, typically smaller arteries and arterioles. And that damage over time can cause that blood vessel to either clot off or to break open and not be able to deliver blood to that area, so that area is at risk of not having enough oxygen and nutrients. So over time, that can cause diseases such as swelling in the back of the eye or blood vessel growth in the back of the eye, which requires treatment.
And what kind of treatments would someone have to go through for that condition?
So early on in diabetic retinopathy, it's more of a watch. If it's minor damage, it's more of encouragement to the patient that what we're seeing is damage from few years prior, not what's occurring at the current time. And I think that's also important for patients to understand that the damage we see today is not from you having a high sugar yesterday, it's from having high sugars over a period of time. And so that is encouragement. In the mild disease, as it progresses, there's basically two types of retinopathy. There's a retinopathy where there's swelling in the center part of the retina, which is our central vision that gives us our detail, and that can over time cause vision loss. In years past, the treatment options were laser, and as injections, which have come about due to macular degeneration, have also been extended into the diabetic retinopathy world. We found that these injections actually work as well and sometimes better than laser. So currently our treatment modality is to inject medication into the eye and to control the swelling, and that's worked very well. The other type of retinopathy that occurs is in the more peripheral part of the retina, where damage occurs to an extent that the body responds by trying to help that area by growing new blood vessels or making vessels that are there become leaky. If these new vessels grow, they unfortunately don't stay in the spot they're supposed to. They travel around the eye and can get into the front of the eye, and they can cause glaucoma. In the back of the eye, they can progress and cause fibrosis or scarring that can lead to detachments of the retina, everything kind of leading to a loss of vision that in a lot of cases can't be reversed, but in some cases can be at least maintained or stabilized.
Wow, that's really good information. So we have about a minute or so left. What would be then the best advice you could give to someone with diabetes to really take care of their eye health and overall make sure they're doing the best they can for that?
I think the important thing with diabetes is getting checked on a regular basis, not just eyes, but as well as with their primary care doctor or endocrinologist or whoever is helping with the diabetes. By keeping that sugar under control and by watching on a regular basis to see what kind of damage is occurring or not occurring, which I think is important, can help keep them kind of understanding their status. I think educating people on diabetes and realizing that what we do now is for 5 to 10 years from now, not for tomorrow. And I think that's the hard thing, is to get a patient to understand that, as well as to act upon that. We can always say, well, tomorrow's another day, we'll try tomorrow, or the next day, and again we start kicking the can down the road, and pretty soon it catches up to us. So by having the regular exams, following up, and bottom line is controlling their blood sugars.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. We certainly appreciate it. Looks like we're out of time. I want to thank Drs. Burbos and Haskett. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next week, stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the YouTube icon. Special thanks to Fire Tower Coffee House and Roasters. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.